Hi, I'm Rebecca Mander, and you are listening to the Bounce Mindset podcast. During my time as a busy mum and managing director in 2007, I managed significant personal loss and professional challenges as the only woman on the board. I believe we always have a choice, and that a resilient and what I call a bounce mindset is possible for anyone to develop. Join me as we meet some incredible guests, sharing their bounce forward stories, including my own in episode 1. I'm so excited to have you here, and also would like to thank Grow Radio Production and Stephen Bedell for Dragonfly, my very own theme tune. Enjoy. Hi there, and welcome to the Bounce Mindset podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by my lovely friend, Hannah Bailey. She is amazing, and I'm really excited that you're going to hear from her today. And Hannah is the founder of Blue Light Wellbeing, an amazing organization that goes into organizations specializing in helping them with well-being, mental health, and trauma. Former police officer in 2011, Hannah was diagnosed with breast cancer, the most devastating news for her and her family. And she's here to share her story, how she overcame that, how her bounce mindset helped her with that, as well as accompanying PTSD from her experiences in the force. And now, of course, she uses those experiences, is motivated to support other people, and she's completely inspiring. So I'm delighted to welcome Hannah Bailey. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And amazing to be sat here as best friends and as colleagues. And just thank you so much.
On the hottest day of the year.
I know, it is. We're trying to look really cool.
We look cool.
Yeah, we've done our best.
But
it's trying to be here.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Yeah, it is the 1st of July. We're recording this, and it is a hot day in the UK. So we're going to take you through as coolly as we can. Hannah, can you start by sharing your story with the listeners and telling us a little bit about where your purpose comes from, really, which is your journey, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think probably lots of people that you've talked to and that we help, it becomes part of their passion and their journey, doesn't it, with the work that they do now. So I was a serving police officer. So I was in West Midlands Police, served for 15 years, and I served in predominantly frontline roles for that whole 15 years. Worked in uniform emergency response, worked within the CID, and then eventually in major crime as well. So dealing with a lot of serious and complex crimes for the whole of that 15 years. So I loved it. I absolutely loved being a police officer, talking about passion and purpose. Yeah. It was my identity. So I joined at 21, so I had no idea. I had no idea what else I would be if I wasn't a police officer. For 30 years, that's what I wanted to do. That's what people did then when they joined the police. It's slightly different now, and people come out earlier, but it absolutely then was a 30-year career. Yeah. And I was very happy that was going to be me. But as life throws different curveballs at us, it does not always go to those lovely, well-made plans that we wanted to be in. And that was me. So I would say for about 2 years before, I know you touched on my cancer diagnosis. So before that, for about 2 years, I would say my mental and emotional health went downhill. It wasn't like one big job. I think a lot of people think that sometimes with the emergency services and the police, but it was really that constant exposure to trauma, to difficult jobs, to victims. So it was wearing me down, breaking me down. I didn't think that at the time. I will also say, I think for your listeners, Rebecca, as well, that there was stuff going on within the police station as well, within the job. I think that's important because I think it's happening in lots of organisations at the moment. So it was within the job as well. And then I had lots of difficult things going on at home during that time. So I think it was a little bit of a melting pot that came together. And I just did not see it coming at all. We had huge stigma and taboo around mental health in policing and a lot of those frontline type roles. We had no training or education on it at all. So I had if you'd asked me, ask people if they're okay, one, I would have said I was fine. If you'd asked again, I probably would have said I was exhausted or stressed. But I had no other idea of what I was struggling with. So as you touched on, I don't know how long that would have gone on until I broke, probably, but in 2011, I found a lump in my breast. I was 34. We had no cancer in our family at all. And so I just thought it would be, as the GP told me, it would just be a cyst or something like that. But very quickly, and our NHS were fantastic, and very quickly I was told I had breast cancer. So
And how old were you?
34. Yeah. So, and everybody said I was too young to have cancer. So that's not true.
Yeah.
We know that. We have to stop talking in those stories a little bit, because that's not true. So I did really, at that time, I did what I was trained to do as a police officer, which is grit your teeth, get on with it, get through it, and get back to work with. And so that's exactly what I did. I thought, I'll beat this, I'll fight this, and that's all good fighting talk, but I didn't stop for a minute to think, actually, why am I this sick? I got this sick. So I did that, and I went through chemo and surgery and the treatment that we have. And after 9 months, I went back to work. But within 12 months of my first diagnosis, my cancer had come back. And this time, the cancer had mutated and become very rare and aggressive. And I had a very poor prognosis, very poor 5-year prognosis. And I think that's the only time that I actually probably had that light bulb moment that this is maybe going to kill me if I don't actually change and do something about what had been happening to me. And so I finally decided to look at it all, actually, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, just everything needed to give my head a wobble a bit, really, and have a look at it all and see what needed changing to become not only well and get over it, but I wanted to now to be well long-term, consistently, not just put a plaster on it and hope it will all go away. So that's what I set out to do. And through that journey, and I know we're going to talk about that a little bit, through that, I decided to leave the police. At that time, there was no support mentally and emotionally at all.
And I remember you going to work and wearing a wig, and you found that really hard. I remember that time was really tough.
Yeah. And I share this with some of the speaking that I do, because I think we think sometimes it's the really big stuff that will floor us. And actually I felt like I was coping with that quite well. But going back to work wearing a wig, and I remember my return to work interviews, was I happy to be confrontational? And I was thinking, well, I quite like that part that I'm really happy to be confrontational, but I'm so worried my wig's going to be pulled off or come off. And it felt such a silly thing that I didn't feel I could share it with anyone. And I'm learning, and I hope we're all learning, that those little things that feel little are big at the time, and they're big to us in our heads. And actually talking about them, I've just had somebody to share that with or talk it through with would have just made that transition a little bit easier. So
you left the police force.
So I decided to leave, and that was a huge, even with everything I'd been through, I was devastated, absolutely devastated. It was all I knew. It's a very specialist skill. I didn't feel that anything I knew as a police officer would adapt to the outside world. So so not only was I physically and mentally very unwell at the time, I just felt I had no place in the side of policing.
Gosh. So that was your identity?
Totally lost my identity. It wasn't like, I don't know what to do if I'm not a police officer. I didn't actually know who I was if I wasn't a police officer. And I remember after leaving, at least for 2 years, if people said, what do you do? I said, I used to be a police officer. Like, I just didn't know how to move into a different space at all. But I did find my space, because like we talked about at the start, about purpose and passion. And I realised, it might be cliche to say, but most police officers want to go into policing to help others and to make a difference. And actually that was still really strong in me. So I just had to find another way to do that. And so that's what I started to work on and develop. I knew that there would be people like me who were struggling, found that difficult to talk about, didn't know who or where to turn to, and actually we needed to set about changing them. And so I thought, I've got the personal experience, but I decided to retrain professionally as well to do that. And that is how I do like Wellbeing.
And now you have a niche.
I do have a niche. I mean, I do. I mean, I work across all sorts of organisations and companies and individuals, but very naturally drawn to those who policing is an obvious one, but who are exposed to that type of work. And actually, I've realised there's lots of organisations. So the National Crime Agency, digital forensics, military. I work for an international search and rescue team as well. There's actually, it's not policing is a big part of that,
Yeah.
but there's lots of roles and
Yeah.
organisations that they're exposed to that type of work
Absolutely.
all the time,
Yeah.
and will struggle.
Yeah. And I see it as well in corporate third-party trauma, vicarious trauma, lawyers and barristers working with the most horrific cases, and they don't get a coach or a counsellor. They might have a phone line they can call, and law care is brilliant for that.
Great.
But it does take effort to do that, doesn't it? To think, right, I'm going to make myself vulnerable. I'm going to make that phone call. And so I'm really excited that you're here to share some of the things that you did to bounce forward through that time. And I was witness to your inspirational journey.
Yeah.
And I know with 2 young children as well, it was not easy. What do you think your biggest mindset challenge was as you were going through that
So
time?
I think looking back, I probably wouldn't have labelled that at the time. But looking back, obviously, with the work I do now and seeing it with others, is, you know, I had a lot to that I needed to work on around PTSD, cancer. So physically and mentally, I had a lot to work on. But actually, what I realised blocked that and blocked me getting help and speaking about it at first was 2 things. And one of them was shock and the other was shame. And I think these are probably 2 of the biggest things. When we talk about stigma in these types of roles, we need to break it down a little bit about what that stigma is doing. And I 100% thought I was just invincible in policing. And that is the culture allowed that to feel that we were invincible. I dealt with some of the most hideous traumas and I was fine, I believed. And I was known in the police, Rebecca, for not, and you all know that about me, I don't flap, I don't panic, I'm quite calm, I get on with things, I work hard, I put a smile on my face and I get on and do it. So that's what I thought I thought that was true resilience, and I thought that would see me through everything.
And the public see you as invincible.
Yeah. 100%.
Like you're wearing a uniform.
Yeah.
If anyone's in danger, the first people you call are the police, because they're invincible. They are like our superheroes, aren't they?
Yeah, and
they
won't run away from anything.
Yeah.
They will rock up and go and deal with that, the awful things that no one else wants to. So I thought that made me so tough. And I will say there's an element, of course there is, to that being resilient. Of course there is. But I had no idea how to cope when that wasn't so. So I really, in terms of the shock, I really had almost put myself on a pedestal, and that sounds awful to say. I did have this pedestal of myself. My husband is a friend as well, and we're great family friends. He's a police officer too, and he was exactly the same. So I just thought that's how we all coped. So I had this huge shock, not just the shock of cancer, it was the shock of being ill. I just never ever thought that would happen to me. So that was one of the blocks. But the other was shame. I was so ashamed that I was ill. Yeah, I feel almost upset now saying it. I was so ashamed. And it's ridiculous to say, isn't it? It feels ridiculous. But then look how that has been the thing that's upset me. So I've talked about PTSD and cancer, and I've talked about jobs that we go to, but it was the shame. Because nobody in policing, I thought, nobody in policing got sick. And that's not true. And I just thought it would never, ever happen to me. And that's not true either. So those were the two biggest things I had to get myself around, actually, in order to truly get the help I needed.
And I've never known that. I remember being with you on that journey, and I never knew that shame was a thing. And I can't actually relate to that, because I can't think how you can feel shame at something that's so wildly beyond your control.
I know. And it was, I think that goes to show the strength of culture, actually, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's in our communities, the strength of culture. And that can be good as well, but it can be hugely destructive. That's what that culture did to us, is that I felt that I should never get sick, never show. You talked about vulnerability at the start, and I never ever wanted to show vulnerability or weakness, and I thought it was weakness. I think as well, I do this on some of my talks, I think as well, it was the fear of being vulnerable, because in policing, we did deal with the most vulnerable of society. And that is either in terms of our suspects as well, but in terms of our victims. And they are some of the most vulnerable in society. And I think policing and other roles like that can become very us and them. And we're on this side of that line. We're the strong ones, and or the heroes, or whatever anybody else wants to label it. And those people over there are, and yeah, I'm going to be honest, we felt they were the weak part of society. It sounds such a harsh word, doesn't it? But it's true, and it's how we survived. But it isn't reality. It's not reality. And it was a huge reality check that actually we're all part of that one community that can get sick, that can get ill, and that can be vulnerable.
And Brené Brown speaks a lot about shame.
She does.
And it is quite fascinating, her talk on that subject.
Yeah.
You mentioned shock, and it's really weird because today, 17 years ago, I had a phone call, and mum and dad had the car accident that my mum would never recover from. And I remember in that moment, I stood at the island unit, and we'd just been to IKEA, had a lovely morning with Shirley, my mother-in-law. And I remember getting that phone call, and then straight away having to speak in French to surgeons and my dad, and like the world just stands still. And the shock was just, and I guess maybe, I don't know, for me, it was like the second time, because we'd lost Charlie.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I can't do this, actually. I've done this once.
Yeah.
And I too, like you, felt invincible, because I'm Catholic and I thought I had this holy cloak. So nothing would happen to me. So then when Charlie died, that invincibility just went. But yeah, I remember that horrible shock, the complete shock, not even wanting people to hug me, and Craig came to hug me and I pushed him away, and Shirley was really upset by that. But I just didn't want to face the fact that now people are going to pity me all over again.
And I really resonate with that. And again, what do we do to ourselves that we push that away because we just think, I cannot do this again. So I think, I don't know if you felt this, I almost, because with the second diagnosis of cancer, interestingly, I had exactly the same thought. I thought, I just can't tell anybody. I can't put this on anybody else again. And again, I thought I'd got through cancer once, wasn't I great? How life throws that at me again. I know, I've got through cancer once, and I've got to do it again. But it was a personal thing as well. I just thought, I actually can't face this again. I can't find that strength and that resilience, and let's grit my teeth and let's smile and like that. I can get through this. I can't do that again.
I haven't got it in me.
I haven't got it in me. And I didn't want to put it on anybody else. As you said, almost their pity. Only people being lovely, of course, with pity and kindness. But I couldn't bear it again. I mean, I just felt like the victim again. And it was just so anti what I believed about myself and you, because you're the same, aren't you? Very positive, very strong, very independent,
very spiritual as well. Believe that if we have positive thoughts, positive things happen.
Exactly. So it just felt like my whole belief system almost collapsed again, and I had to, and I'm sure you felt the same. You had to rebuild that again. And so yes, it was. So those two things, shock and shame, were actually my biggest barriers. And once I came through those, the actual healing from PTSD and cancer, I don't mean wasn't a journey, but probably wasn't as tough as getting through shock and shame.
It's a practice run.
It was a really good practice run. I would say it humbled me. And I think actually I probably needed humbling. And I don't mean in a horrible way to myself or anybody else, but it humbles me. Mental health, physical health, shock, trauma humbles us, doesn't it? Because it happens to all of us. That's what I learned first, and then I could come through the rest.
It's humbling to realize you're not invincible. And so you talked to me earlier about adaptable intelligence, and you mentioned that you had some therapy that helped you cope with this shame and this shock. Can you tell us about that? Because I've never heard of it before, and I'd really be interested to know
about it. So adaptability intelligence, so that's kind of, it would now be probably a therapy word or a coaching word. I didn't know it as that at the time, but that's actually what a therapist really helped me with. So after she also helped me obviously with the shock and shame, well, as we talked about, but then I had some practical challenges to overcome, and one of them was that I was given a really poor prognosis for my survival. I wasn't terminal, not trying to say that, but I had about an 8% chance of a 5-year survival with the type of cancer I had. And I was being told that chemotherapy this time around almost certainly wouldn't work. And I asked what else there was, and they said, nothing else, that's all we've got. So it was a really dark, frightening, depressed time of my life. And I remember I was offered to go to a breast cancer support group. And I'm going to be really honest here, because they were lovely ladies, Rebecca, lovely, but it was also quite depressing, and that's honest. It was a lot of shared stories, and I'm going to be blunt, sometimes almost competitive. Who's got the worst cancer? Who's got the worst diagnosis? Who's got the worst side effects?
Yeah.
And I
bit like mums after childbirth.
I know, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I would come away not feeling uplifted or empowered, but really frightened and depressed. So my therapist said, you're looking in the wrong place. And you're looking at people who are in a similar journey with similar statistics and are not doing anything else to change that. So she said, you need to find the people that have come through this. If there's an 8% survival, there's people out there who survived it. So what are they doing? They're no doubt probably doing something different, even if it's conventional, but maybe they're doing something else as well. And how are they surviving it? Because those are the people you need to find and speak to, rather than perhaps a group that was actually in the end quite depressing. So, and she was absolutely right. So I started researching people who had recovered from the type of cancer I had, and had longer than 5 years as well, and who were really well. And I literally didn't stop, Rebecca. I went to conferences, I contacted doctors around the country and abroad as well. I spoke to survivors, I read books. I mean, I literally left no stone unturned, I think. But what started to change for me is that the more survivors I met, the more that statistic changed in my head. And one of the things we say about adaptability intelligence is manipulate the statistics to suit your own goal. And what the therapist was trying to say is the people at the breast cancer support group were not in my goal, if you like. They weren't reaching my goal. So they were the statistics of people that, being honest, were not reaching the goal I wanted. So I had to find the people who were reaching those goals. And then what changed is my mind started to see all these people that were surviving, that were doing well, that were going outside the box, that were doing things for themselves, that were challenging some stuff. If this treatment wasn't going to work, what other treatments could we have? And of course, so those statistics started to change in my head, because I started to see like 80-90% survival, this type of cancer, because those are the people I focused on. So once my mind thought, oh, there's like an 80-90% chance of survival, then that changed my positivity, my outlook, my hope, my energy, my focus, everything. And I started to focus on those people and what they were doing. Now, you have to find your own path, as you do. I did end up going abroad for a medical treatment abroad as well, which was really successful for me. But I also knew I wanted to be well long term. So I was looking at people who'd survived it for 8 years, 10 years, 20 years. That was my goal, not just to limp through to 5 years, crossing my fingers sort of thing. And I just found, Rebecca, the most inspirational people, funny, kind, brilliant, strong, independent, all the things that I wanted to be at the outcome of this. So that was a really helpful adaptability intelligence. It made me see that health and well-being was a really high statistic, not the other way around. So I loved it.
And I see your energy really lift when you think about those people, your eyes, everything sparkling, and that therapist. So we talk about when we do Charlie's Star, the inquirer, who or what do you need to know in order to help you move forward? And it is quite often, it's extra help, it's therapy, it's talking, it's sometimes friends that they're well-meaning, but it's not therapy, is it? It's different.
It really isn't. And there's lots and lots around on social media that we should talk to people, bring it up. And that actually probably will usually be a friend first, won't it? Hardly ever be a coach or a therapist first. And I completely get that. And that's right. I'm lucky I've got you. So I've got a best pal and I've got a coach. So I've got the 2 in 1. I'm done. I'm sorted. But usually will be a friend. But like you said, if that friend isn't in that statistic or where you want to be, or has maybe walked that path, and they can be wonderful and kind and supportive, but that might not actually move you forward to the place that you want to be. So she really helped me find those people. And that therapist, she was wonderful, but she hadn't walked that cancer path. So she was saying, even though she was helping me with lots of things, she couldn't help me in that bracket. And like you said, it's rarely one person, is it? I had this tribe in the end of people that like, they could help me with this, they could help me with that. And I'm still to that day, and lucky enough to include you in that I've got my tribe of people that I know would help me through different setbacks that life will throw at us.
And the PTSD that you had suffered, what was the support there for?
So none in policing, none in policing at the time. So let's talk about that, because I think all organizations now, pretty much corporate and public service, do have EAPs, so employee assistance programs, or similar, where you can get some help. And that is brilliant. And I'm so pleased that is changing. And that's right. Is that still difficult? Yes. For people, particularly, I think in all organizations, Rebecca, but for people, particularly in those roles, yes, they worry very much whether they hold a leadership type position, whether they're even a leader on their own team, if they have that invincibility feeling like I did. But also very particularly in policing and stuff, the roles you hold, like firearms, specialist roles, they're so worried that if they speak up within their organization, that they will be moved off their teams, that they'll lose their ticket, it's called, for specialities, or they'll be forced to go off sick or whatever. So absolutely, I think it's so important for us to know that there's help outside those organizations as well. And that is what I did. I had to come because there wasn't that support and help in policing. And I think, again, it's about, I guess, that adaptability intelligence. Is if you either are not getting the support you want within your organization, or you just don't feel it's right for you, that feels uncomfortable, then there is help and support outside as well, both privately, but loads of charities now with people that understand those roles and those difficulties and those traumas.
Charities.
Brilliant. Some really great ones as well that will. And also that will help signpost you. So if they can't help, there'll be they'll know somebody, that kind of thing. It's a fantastic network. So really important for people to know.
I'm just going to wait for this plane to go over. Okay, so that's brilliant. And we'll list some of those charities on the show notes for anyone who's interested. That's fantastic. And in your research and your therapy, you discovered BWRT, which you now specialize in.
I do,
of course, BWRT is fantastic, and I really want you to tell us about that. And it's great for PTSD, isn't it? But also other things.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Some of my daughter with her fear of birds, my friend with a fear of whales, not just wildlife.
No, any phobias, not just animals.
So tell us a little bit about BWRT, because it's not well known. It's not a well-known therapy like CBT or.
It's really not. So it stands for Brain Working Recursive Therapy. It's been around, I'd say, about 12 years, which isn't long in the therapy world. It's thing. I found it because, again, talking about that adaptability intelligence, through the therapy and well-being changes I was making in my life, I was doing really well, and I was doing much better and much healthier, much more balanced, and really feeling like I was coming out the other side. But I still had some hideous flare-ups of PTSD, often lasting about 3 days, physical pain, nightmares, flashbacks. They would come in clusters of about 3 days, have to come out of work. Then they would settle. I would use the tools and techniques I'd got, but they would settle and I'd move on. And I thought, right, okay, again, that adaptability intelligence. I don't want to live with this anymore. I hear lots of people share their story about living with or managing PTSD. I'm not taking away here, Rebecca, anybody else's journey, I'd like to say, but I didn't want that to be me. And so I researched again and found a therapy that said that this would, I don't like the word cure, but ultimately look to so that you don't have any symptoms of PTSD at all. And so off I went and it's a very quick and effective therapy. I had about 6 sessions and I have no symptoms of PTSD at all since then. So no flashbacks, no nightmares, no panic attacks over it, none of this physical pain that would overcome me. So I thought it was incredible. And I was already a wellbeing coach. So I thought, right, I'm going to train in this.
Yes.
So, and you will know as well, because you know me so well. I had it for fear of flying as well.
Yes,
so good
right.
with fears. So I had a crippling fear of flying. Do not have that.
No.
You've flown me. I don't have that at all anymore. It's incredible. Yeah. So I also had it for fear of flying. So I decided to train in it. And it is. So it works to help. So because it's called brain working recursive therapy, it's knowing that the brain gets into certain recursive loops, habits, behaviors, responses over trauma, yes, but also fears, phobias, habits, imposter phenomena, all those things we get into recursive loops. And the BWRT changes those recursive loops in the brain in order that you choose to respond how you'd like to respond instead. Amazing. It is, yes.
And the fact that it does not take a lot of sessions is great, because it's financially more accessible perhaps for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's I think it's almost that people don't believe it will be that quick. And you know that from the experiences that you talked about. And so people don't believe it will be that quick. And thankfully I do know from a personal experience, and now like from a professional one. So but as you said, it makes it far more cost effective and moves away from that very traditional belief, I think, about therapy, of it being 2 years in therapy or counselling.
So what does the future hold for you? I know you're very happy.
We are, we're really happy. Well, the family's well and happy, and I don't love that they've seen us come through really tough times, but it has shown the kids actually that we can come through some really tough stuff and come out the other side. So I hope it has helped them too. I'm really enjoying my work, my business. And somebody asked me once, what has been the biggest change for you? And I would say that I'm not afraid of, I know life will throw stuff at us, Rebecca would know that, but I don't feel afraid of that anymore, because I have a different level of resilience, which means I know tough stuff can happen. I know I might feel overwhelmed or frightened or anxious or upset or angry, but actually, if with the tools that I've learned, the journey I've been on, the amazing people that I have around me in my life, that those are the things we'll look at and tackle and move through them once again. So,
absolutely. When you've been through all of that, you pretty much know you can get through most things. Well, anything.
Anything,
absolutely.
really.
And I absolutely believe that for you as well.
And for you. That's
what a pair we are.
We know.
So just to end, it's just been fabulous. Tell me, if you had a quote, if you had a favorite quote, what would that be and why?
So I do use this quote in some of my sessions and talks, and it's a Rumi quote. So R-U-M-I, Rumi quote. And Rumi says that when you are setting out on a journey, do not seek advice from those who have never left home. And that would be there will always be somebody actually who's done this, been through it, looked at it, come out in a way that you want to come out to. So go and find them. They will help you. How much help did we have? They will help you. You and I will help them. There will be people. There will be choices. There'll be options. There'll be a route. There'll be a path. So find those people who've been on a journey, and they will be the ones who will guide you through it.
Wow, I love that. And it is so true. There is always, especially with AI now, you could put into AI, who would be able to help me with this? This is my exact situation. Who do we know that's been through it? And I remember reaching out to mums also who'd lost children, who had come further down. So you're right. The times I spoke to mums who were still in it, whether or not they were years ahead of me, they might have still been in it, in that victim space. That was not helpful. But the ones that had come through and used the techniques and that adaptability, intelligence, which is AI.
There you go. Time of
AI. Were really empowering and really inspirational. And speaking to you, even though I know your journey has been really empowering and really inspirational, and I know it's been tough for you thinking about those times, but you're really supporting and helping other people with your journey. And so I really thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me today.
Amazing.
Thank you so
Hannah
much.
Bailey. Love being on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Bounce Mindset podcast. If you would like a coach in your pocket with free regular hints and tips to help you bounce forward in your career or personal life, then please feel free to go to the Bounce Mindset podcast show notes. And don't forget to leave a review for us. Thank you. Bye.